Hello, and welcome to today's live reading of Glass Houses by Sinister Styx, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1 Splitting. The night is silent save for the subtle breeze rustling the nearby trees and the distant sound of waves dancing over the sand. Standing at the edge of the open air patio, Ivy gazes down at the city of Dark Moon Bay through the parted silks in between the columns. Somewhere down there, her husband of 2 years is visiting with friends. At least, that's what he told her. He's done nothing to warrant suspicion, but there's a restless unease taking root in Ivy's spirit. The last two times Falcon went to visit friends, Ivy let it be, but this time she had to know. A faint popping sounds, then footsteps come from behind her. Never taking her eyes from the city below, she asks, "What do you have for me, Saren?" "He went to a bar, mistress. He had a few drinks with friends, and now he is walking back home. I followed long enough to make sure he didn't detour. I'm only a few minutes ahead of him. Be available for me to call on you again. You may go for now." As quickly as Saren arrived, he disappears. Ivy contemplates the update. She should be happy at the news. Falcon did nothing untoward, yet she can't shake the suspicion preying on her mind. Ivy lets the silk drop closed, shutting out the world beyond their home. Knowing Falcon will arrive any minute, Ivy walks into their living room, trying to quiet her inner turmoil. It isn't her nature to be mistrustful or jealous, and that adds to her growing discomfort. Maybe she just needs a good fuck. It's been a few days. Yeah. Maybe all she needs is to feel connected to her husband. Then everything will smooth out. Bang! The doors slam shut behind Falcon as he enters the house, causing Ivy to jump in the wake of the shattered silence. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" Falcon growls, stalking toward Ivy. As imposing a figure as he is, she's never been afraid of him before. Then again, she's never seen him this angry either. "What are you talking about?" Ivy asks, taking a step back. "Saren was spying on me tonight. Everywhere I went, he was there, lurking in the shadows. Maybe he was out on the town. Dark Moon Bay isn't that big. He's your personal attendant. He doesn't take a shit unless you tell him to. Now, why was he tailing me?" Falcon grabs Ivy by the chin, backing her up against the wall. "You're drunk, Falcon. You're not thinking straight. Ivy, baby, you better tell me what's going on, or I will go have a chat with Saren. I don't think either of you want that with my current mood." If Ivy thought she was scared before, it's nothing compared to the terror she feels when Falcon's fist crashes through the wall beside her head after she tells him the truth. Rage boils in Falcon's blood. "You dare question my faithfulness? Perhaps it is your own guilty conscience plaguing you." Falcon has never questioned Ivy's love for him, but now a spark of doubt ignites. "Is it Saren? Are you giving yourself to that boy?" "He's of legal age, Falcon, and no, I'm not fucking him. How could you think such a thing?" "How could you, Ivy? Your suspicion started this." "It's just a misunderstanding," Ivy says softly. "Take me to bed and make love to me. We can move past this, and by morning it'll be like none of it ever happened." Falcon steps back, letting go of his wife. "Make love to you? I can't even stand to look at you right now, much less put my dick in you." Ivy feels the words like a punch to the gut. "It was a mistake, Falcon. I'm sorry." "No, you're not, but you will be. Don't come to bed, Ivy," he says, turning away, heading for the bedroom. Chapter 2 Splintering. The mid morning light sears through Falcon's head as he opens his eyes. Quickly closing them, he rolls over, pulling a pillow over his face. "Lantia!" A quiet pop sounds in the room. "You called for me, sir?" "Yes, draw the curtains, please." When the light in the room dims, Falcon lifts the pillow and looks at Lantia. "We'll be having a party this evening. Please see that all the usual people get their invitations. After that, coordinate with Saren to plan the menu and decorate." "Yes, sir. Will that be all?" Falcon pauses. He hasn't taken notice of Lantia before, but her smaller stature and waif-like form do have a certain appeal. "Do you like parties, Lantia?" I don't get to attend many parties, sir, not as a guest, anyway. Falcon nods in acknowledgement. You may go start on the preparations. Another quiet pop sounds and Lantia is gone. Falcon's head pounds as he climbs out of bed. He knows he needs to eat, but first he needs water and some meds. Stumbling into the kitchen, he rummages around for the pill bottle. Drawer to your left, Ivy says, rising from the divan where she slept that night before. Falcon opens the drawer, grabs the bottle, and shakes out 2 pills. After throwing the bottle back in the drawer, he fills a cup with water and takes the meds, praying they kick in soon. We're having a party tonight. I've already got Lantia working on preparations. She'll coordinate with Saren. Hope blossoms inside of Ivy's heart. Falcon can't be too upset with her if he's planning a party. Their parties are legendary. Falcon and Ivy always star in a spotlight performance for their guests. Maybe this is his plan for makeup sex. Ivy is definitely on board for that. Would you like me to make some toast and fruit for breakfast? Ivy asks, knowing something light will be easier for him to tolerate this morning. For a moment, Falcon's heart softens, and he second guesses the plan he cooked up in his drunken rage. He loves Ivy, and Ivy loves him. He knows this. That's why her mistrust cut him so deeply. Memories of the night before flash through his mind like a movie, and his heart hardens again. Plastering on a fake smile, he says, That would be wonderful. Thank you. Have a seat on the patio and I'll bring it out to you. Ivy kisses him on the cheek, then turns to prepare the food. Falcon's cheek burns where Ivy's lips touched him, and he wipes at it with his fingers. He doesn't want her stain of remorse and guilt on him. After breakfast, the day is a blur of activity. Falcon helps Saren rearrange the furniture and set up extra beds throughout the house and on the patio, while Ivy sets up the buffet and drink stations. There's no time to talk, which leaves Ivy wondering about their performance. Usually they have a theme or scene determined beforehand, but this time, Ivy is flying blind. She can't dwell on it, though, because she still needs to get herself ready to receive guests. A pleasant breeze caresses Ivy's skin as she wanders through the sea of party guests. All the doors are open, making the living room and the patio one big open-air space. Lounges, couches, and beds of various sizes are all occupied with pleasure-seeking people locked in the throes of lust and passion. Ivy, wonderful party as usual, Bridget says, stopping near Ivy by the kitchen island that separates it from the living area. It's a shame you aren't feeling up to performing tonight, but I do so look forward to seeing what Falcon comes up with. Well, I'm off to snag a front row spot. She pats Ivy on the arm and wanders off toward the patio. For a few moments, Ivy stands frozen in place. The one rule Ivy and Falcon have always had is that they only play and perform together. On the rare chance they invite a third, it's always together. The parties have never been about sharing themselves with other people. They've always been about the energy and the voyeurism, but this time Falcon is performing without her. By the time Ivy pulls herself together enough to move, many of the guests have moved out to the patio around the large 4-poster canopy bed on the raised platform in the center. In a daze, Ivy walks slowly toward the bed, guests parting the way to make room for her. Stopping a few feet from the bed, Ivy sees that Falcon has chosen their best silk sheets for this performance. A deep crimson that contrasts Lantia's pale skin beautifully and matches her lip color. Ivy wants to look away from the scene in front of her, but she can't make herself do it. Lantia's face is turned toward her, eyes closed, cheek pressed into the sheets from Falcon's foot resting on her head in a display of dominance. Knees bent, hips in the air, completely surrendered and at Falcon's mercy. As if she can sense Ivy's gaze, Lantia opens her eyes. For a moment, Ivy swears she sees flames in them, but it must be a trick of light from the torches placed around the patio. Lantia's lips curve into a smirk before she closes her eyes again and moans in pleasure. Ivy looks at her husband and their eyes lock. The emotionless cold Ivy sees in them chills her to the bone. Turning away, Falcon increases the pace of his thrusts until he shouts his release. After coming down from the high of his orgasm and pulling out of her, Falcon slaps Lantia on the ass and says, "Leave me." There's a quiet pop as she disappears. Falcon walks toward Ivy, running his hand down the length of his dick, still wet from being inside of Lantia and his release. Bringing up his hand, he wipes their combined fluid down Ivy's cheek. Now you have something to accuse me of, baby. Without taking his eyes off Ivy, he addresses the guests. Party's over. Get out. After an hour of showering, trying to wash off the feel of Lantia and his own shame, Falcon craves a drink and heads to his den. Sitting in the dark, with only the moonlight shining in, he swallows a mouthful of whiskey, guilt eating him up from the inside. What have I done? He wants to blame it all on Ivy, but he knows he was the one that took things too far. Damn his wounded pride. He loved Ivy for years, long before they ever got married. Now he's fired a shot that may bring everything crashing down around him. Tears slide down his cheeks, dripping onto his bare chest. Is there any forgiveness after something like this? Throwing back the rest of his drink, Falcon sets the glass down. Maybe there's no coming back from such a colossal fuck up, but he has to try. Determined to save his marriage, he leaves the den in search of Ivy. Chapter 3: Shattering. Burning with humiliation and overwhelmed with the devastation of betrayal, Ivy leaves Saren to deal with removing the guests and flees the house. She doesn't have a destination in mind, but she's not surprised when she winds up at the Moon Spring. It's one of her favorite places on their property. Shedding the robe she'd been wearing at the party, Ivy lowers herself into the pearlescent liquid, leaning her head back onto the bank and closing her eyes. Moonbeams activate the soothing effects of the water, keeping Ivy from losing herself completely. Despite the water's calming nature, it's not a cure-all, and Ivy lets the tears flow freely. Gentle fingers run through Ivy's hair. For a moment, she thinks Falcon has come to apologize and grovel. Please don't cry, mistress. Saren's soft voice breaks into Ivy's grieving. Opening her eyes, Ivy watches Saren disrobe and slip into the water. Straddling Ivy's legs, Saren says, "He's not worth your tears. Let me take the hurt away." Saren wipes Ivy's tears away with his thumb as he cradles her face in his hands. "Let me inside you." "Saren, Shh," he whispers, then kisses her as he moves to nudge her thighs apart. Drunk on his kiss and craving comfort, Ivy doesn't fight him as he thrusts into her. Breaking the kiss, Saren looks into Ivy's eyes. "Leave him, Ivy. We could run away together." Somewhere in the back of her mind, Ivy knows she should stop this, refuse Saren's advances, but he's so beautiful with his glowing silver eyes, almost otherworldly. She's lost in his gaze and the feeling of him moving inside her. "Yes, run away. We could be together," she echoes back to him. Sharp pain breaks the intimate atmosphere, causing Ivy to cry out. Her head snaps back as Falcon yanks her by the hair. The weight of Saren's body lifts from her as he disappears, leaving her to face Falcon's wrath alone. "How dare you let him defile you?" A hysterical laugh bubbles up and out of Ivy. "Glass houses, my love. Glass houses." Angry with himself and with Ivy, Falcon drags her out of the water. The echo of his slap is the only sound in the little glen. "I came looking for you to try to salvage our marriage, but I can see I was a fool." Ivy stays on her knees, one hand resting on her battered cheek as Falcon storms away. The entire walk back home, Ivy moves between hope and despair. Falcon wanted to work things out. Why had she said she wanted to run away with Saren? It seemed like the perfect answer at the time. Now, all she wants is to talk to Falcon and plead her case. They were both in the wrong. Maybe if they apologize to each other, they can start to heal. Letting herself quietly into the house, Ivy hopes all of this will end. She just wants her marriage and her husband back the way they were. Hearing voices, she follows the sound to Falcon's den. "You don't need her. She doesn't deserve you. I only need you. Now, take this like the good boy you are." Something inside Ivy snaps as she quietly enters the room. Falcon has his dick shoved down Saren's throat. Both so wrapped up in the moment, they don't hear Ivy moving toward the desk. Snatching up the letter opener, Ivy moves quickly towards Saren with a feral scream. He has to die. She sees everything now. Saren caused all of this madness, pitting them against each other. Before she can reach her target, Fire burns through her skull. Dropping the letter opener, Ivy's body falls to the floor. Ivy! Falcon drops the fireplace poker he'd grabbed for defense on reflex and falls to his knees. Saren forgotten. Ivy, baby, please wake up. I didn't mean it. Gods, I didn't mean it. Pulling her limp body into his arms, Falcon cradles her. Please wake up. I'm so sorry. Hours later, Falcon sits huddled in the corner of the den, staring at Ivy's body. It's time to accept that he killed her. He killed the woman he loves more than anything. His twin flame. His everything. There's no coming back from this, no chance to reconcile, no forgiveness. There's only one thing left for him to do. Picking up the letter opener, he opens the veins on his wrists. It's the least he can do. Give up his life and pay the price for his sins.